Hey everybody, this is Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to do a different type of Wednesday video because I am joining in with the Ali Edwards ambassadors to do a numbers project. We did a black and white hop a while back and now we're doing numbers. Numbers is part of the quarterly scrapbook kit that Ali Edwards releases. So we're all doing some really amazing projects and you should go check them out on Instagram and YouTube. And I will have a list down in my description box. So when I was looking at this kit, one of the things that I really loved was this top 10 paper. And so when I was thinking about what kind of story could I tell of that is a top 10, I was thinking my books, maybe I could do books, but then it was really hard for me to narrow down my books. So since I love October so much, I decided to do top 10 moments from last October. And I'm going to do 2 sections of photos and do a waterfall effect. And I also die cut some circles to make for little tabs. And I have the numbers over here. I just shrunk them down to 85%. And yeah, I'm excited to put this together and add in some stamping if I need to or want to. And I'm just excited to get this project in our family story album. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and switch to voiceover and get started on this project. For the first step, I'm going to get the photos back into order because I'm doing 1 through 5 on the left-hand side and 6 through 10 on the right-hand side. And as I put this together, I will kind of tell you each of the stories that I picked for our October last month. Now, making a waterfall is kind of tricky for me. It's definitely a hard challenge and it's a lot of fun. But it's certainly probably not going to turn out perfect, and that's okay. So story number 5 is we wound up with a wild duck on our porch, and we do not live anywhere near a water source. And so we eventually had to call like the right wildlife service to come out and potentially trap the bird and then set it free. But thankfully, the bird knew about this lady because as soon as it saw the lady, it flew away. So that was good. But we got it some water and it was there for several hours. It was so weird. But it was a interesting moment, our random interesting moment for the month. I am taking each of these photos and I'm making sure that they have a flap. Some of them I was able to trim on my trimmer with a extra little piece of paper above it, but like on this photo of my daughter and her monster drawing, I did not. So I just used some cardstock, folded it with my bone folder, and then I have a good flap. So I have all of my flaps. Now comes the tricky part where I have to tuck in the flap while it has adhesive on it and make sure that they all go in kind of together-ish. So I'm putting the leaf one on, and then I'm going to put on the Pioneer Day one, and I kind of have to lift up the leaf one to tuck in the Pioneer one. Then I'll add in the monster drawing one, and finally the one of my kids and I on the swing. So it's all about like wiggling and adjusting and lifting up, and then when I finally get it the way that I really want it, that's when I can kind of push down and make sure the adhesive is going to stick. But it really is just put the adhesive down and then wiggle, 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 lift up the other one so that way you can get all the layers smushed together. The last one is going to be this great photo of my kids and I on the tire swing. I absolutely loved going on this tire swing with them, and that is why I had to pick it for my number 1 story for October of last year. And I also knew that it would make a great photo that goes on top, just like that photo of my son and I on Halloween making a silly face. That's a great top photo. Okay, so I'm smoothing everything down and I'm kind of flipping through it, make sure I like it and I have it the way I want. And now I can put down my numbers. I have 1 through 10, obviously, so that way they coordinate with the top 10. Now, my thinking was to take the circles that I die cut and cut them in half and then use them as tabs. This is going to look great on the left hand side, but then I didn't think about it, and on the right hand side it's going to get a little trickier. So I will explain that in a little bit. So this monster drawing my daughter did, it's like a direct draw where they tell you step by step how to draw it, and I thought she did an amazing job. It was so realistic, and I asked her if she would color it in and put her name and date, and she did, and so I was able to add it to our October album last year. And then the next photo is my daughter and I dressed up for Pioneer Day, and we went to a local historical town and did a bunch of pioneer activities and with all our friends from school, so that was a really fun thing to do. I also love documenting leaves and collecting leaves, so I had to include this photo of some, like, basically a rainbow of leaves during one family outing. So that is story number 4. For the number 1, I'm going to go ahead and put a leaf behind it. The leaf was a die cut from the scrapbook kit, and I loved it as kind of to give a little more movement to the spread, and I'll tuck another one underneath the 5. I'm ready to move on to the next waterfall, and I have my ruler to make sure they are aligned properly, and I can continue the same process or do the same process I did with the other photos, where I make sure that they all have the flap except for the bottom one. The bottom one is my son with that crazy wig, and I loved it. I said in my little box for the journaling that was probably my all-time favorite costume of his. He decided to wear my pink wig so he could be a pink-haired soccer referee on Halloween, and I just thought it was so awesome. I am adding a cardstock flap to one of the photos that when I trimmed it, it didn't have the extra space. So I'm just using scrap pieces of paper. You know I love using my scraps, so I'm just using those up, making my flaps. And then I'm tucking in the photos as I go with the adhesive. It's just, like I said, it's just a matter of getting that adhesive and then wiggling it in there and pressing it all down. I also have a kind of grainy photo of a Halloween house at night, but I still wanted to use it because it is one of our favorite local holiday houses, and it now decorates for Halloween, which is really cool. So we always visit there for Halloween and Christmas, of course. The top photo, like I mentioned earlier, is my son and I taking some goofy photos, and I wrote in the box that I absolutely love these photos, obviously, but you know, with the age that my son is at, you never know what you're going to get with photos. It could be hilarious, it could be ridiculous, or it could be memorable, or all of the above. And I just love taking photos with him. It's never a dull moment having a teenager. So I thought about doing a heart behind the 6 for something different, but decided to just stick with the leaves. And this is where the tabs got kind of tricky, because I realized that one of them, I think only one of them was going to get into the holes. Like if I put this into a 6-ring album, right now it's going to go into a 2-ring. But if it goes into a 6-ring, the tabs might get in the way. But for now, I am just going to adhere down my numbers, and I think I do decide to do the tabs, and so I'm just going to do those in a little bit. I'm kind of putting them in, inserting them, and deciding what do I want to do? What do I want to do? I don't know if I left the tapping in here of my fingers. Yes, I did. I was like thinking, this is a big problem. But really, honestly, it's not, because like I said, I can just use a 2-ring album and then the tabs won't be in the way. And I didn't want to put the tabs on the left because not only is there no room, but I just wanted it to be a little bit different. Like the left side has left tabs and the right side has right tabs. So I'm going to go ahead and glue those down and then add another leaf to the 6. Also grabbing my paper trimmer so I can trim off the black edge. I almost wish I'd picked a different paper for the bottom, but since the black is neutral, I still think it ties in both pages well. So I just took that, I think it's a 12 by 12 paper, and I shrunk it down so that way you could see more of the words. I'm going to trim the paper on the right hand side as well. I had printed it with the paper on it, but decided I wanted to have an actual separate printed piece adhered right on top. I'm going to finish up the spread by adding in some stamped phrases, just a few. I'm going to put October memories right in the center, and then I'll add some leaves. This leaf stamp is from a November Stories by the Month kit from ages and ages ago. Over on the right hand side, I just stamped the story of right now, and that way I can bring in a little more color on the right hand side. I stamped one of the leaves in the Honeyman kind of like warm yellow color and decided to do the light yellow that I have, and I didn't like it. So I did green and I goofed that up. So I'm just going to cover it up with paper and then fussy cutting out this leaf, and now you really can't tell that I kind of goofed up with my stamping. I'll also add a green leaf over to the right hand side because again I wanted it to have a little bit more color. And the inside part of it is just going to be a brown ink that I had laying around. It's not Ali Edwards, but it's a brown ink, and that's what I needed. Final touch is going to be just adding in some chipboard physical embellishments. I went looking to see what I had, and I wound up finding these little tiny hearts. I don't remember what kit they're from, but I added some neutral colors and then some orange ones, and that's it. I absolutely love how this project turned out. It was so much fun to make all these waterfalls and document our favorite moments from October. I hope you've enjoyed. I'd love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you are new to my channel. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye.